Now, for more on the 64th Independence Anniversary, I'm joined by former ADC presidential candidate, maybe Kachikwu. He joins me live from our Abuja studio. Happy Independence Day, Mr. Kachikwu. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening. Mr. President's speech earlier today somehow highlighted the importance of acknowledging progress amidst challenges. What are your thoughts on striking a balance between reflecting on setbacks and recognizing our achievements as a nation? How do you weigh the pros and cons of Nigeria's journey so far?
Thanks for having me in your program. It's a good question. I believe that the speechwriter definitely had a very difficult time, but obviously when you look at the body politic, you look at the situation within Nigeria today, what do you write for the president to say to Nigerians at a time like this, when obviously all we see are the challenges that face us? So the speechwriter struggled, and the struggles came throughout the speech. So the president took us back down memory lane to the creation of Nigeria and talked about our founding fathers and what we should look forward to, what we should expect. But what surprised me the most about the speech, that the critical issue facing Nigerians and all Nigerians today is the vexatious issue of subsidy removal and the cost of fuel, the rising prices of goods and services in Nigeria. And the president did not address that in his speech. And I'm sure for a lot of people, that caused a lot of anxiety. The president devoted, I think, a paragraph and a half to security, where I must say that it's clear that the presidency, they are doing quite a good job in taking on the fight to the terrorists in the northwest and the northeast. You can see that it's no longer business as usual, where it seemed that people could just waltz in through the borders of our country and take on a sovereign nation. Or it's clear that we're taking the fight to these people now. So that's obvious. So that's one major achievement of Tinubu's administration. But he just devoted a paragraph and a half to that. You know, he devoted four paragraphs to the youths. Tensions, it will always boil down to implementation. And we can see that the failure of this government is in the area of implementation. So he speaks about the youths. They have a national youth fund, about 110 billion naira, and the Ministry of Youths. And if you ask about implementation today, I don't believe it's up to 10%. I don't believe they are really doing much there. There are a lot of areas where all the good policies that the president comes up with, speaks about, and when you speak about implementation, you don't see that they are being implemented as seriously. So this is what frustrates Nigerians. Every day, as a business owner myself, they recently passed the minimum wage bill, 70,000 naira now, and we've been told it's against the law for you to pay anyone less than that. The issue is, how are businesses going to cope with that? What are they supposed to do? Businesses are folding up. I felt that the economy should have been addressed squarely. Whatever policies, programs, plans that the president has for the economy should have been addressed squarely. This was a good opportunity for him to tell us exactly what, instead of speaking in general terms, he should have given us specifics as to what he was going to do to fix the economy. I felt that the speech was lacking in that. Like I said when I started, the speechwriter definitely had a difficult time crafting this speech, because the issues are very, 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 very serious, and obviously it's difficult to try and take a lot of these things in one speech.
Tell that you have taken time to scrutinize Mr. President's speech, identifying what you call the great omission about the price of fuel. But when you ask the question, how will businesses survive? I thought you provided that answer in your daily nuggets, which you shared some 10 hours ago. According to you, I think you were asking the question of how do we survive, and you're saying it is now a world of needs and not wants. This should be the question every one of us should ask before we make any purchase. Do I need this or do I want it? Is that more or less like a comic relief for you, or you think that Nigerians can really understand that position as to how to cope in this time?
Brilliant. I love the fact that you brought my nuggets of today up. And yes, at a time like this, like it's happening all over the world, when economies are struggling, people have got to make plans. What's your plan B? You need to cut costs. That's the smartest thing to do. Now, if people are cutting costs in order to survive the grueling economy, the government should also be cutting costs. But the people are frustrated because they don't see the government to be cutting costs. So you understand the dilemma of the Nigerian people. So we know what we should be doing. We are trying our best. People have downgraded from 3 meals to a meal a day. Some people do 2 meals in 2 days. So people are doing whatever they can because they must survive. But what is the government doing to show that they are in tandem with the Nigerian people? I think this is the disconnect people have with the government. I always say this: any president, even if we had a President Peter Obi or a President Atiku or a President maybe Kachikwu, any president at a time like this will struggle because Nigeria in the year 2024 is facing critical, multifaceted issues. And you cannot solve these problems in 1 day or 1 year. You can also not solve these problems if you don't have the Nigerian people working in tandem with you. So I have always said the first task of this president is to bring all Nigerians together under the green, white, green of our flag. Nigerians are still fighting or reeling over the last elections, where you have a large group of Nigerians who are still feeling vexed or injured about the outcome of the elections, and the president has not shown what I call leadership in managing that issue, in bringing these people under his family, under his umbrella, to say, whereas these elections didn't go how you expected it, but I need you guys to work with me to make Nigeria work again. It's like the president has all these schemes that he's doing for Nigerians, but the Nigerians are not with the president. They are not showing signs that they are supporting his government. And we all have a role to play in making Nigeria work. Those people who don't want to work with the president are destroying Nigeria. A president who doesn't understand that these people are not working with him, who needs to bring them under the roof, he's also not doing right. So our roof keeps on leaking, and we are facing the same problems every day. So yes, he's doing a good job in areas of security. Yes, he's doing a good job in his youth-centric efforts, in his social schemes, in disbursing money. But it's one thing to disburse money. It's another thing for the monies to get to the people that the money has been disbursed for. We saw how much the last government disbursed in the area of agriculture, and how much the CBN disbursed. But when you look at it, when you've checked the figures, do the monies get to the farmers or to the farms? No. So that's what these presidents have to critically look at. You see, for the last 3 weeks, 1 month, they've said they're going to change ministers. What does that do to the psyche of any minister? He stops working. He's afraid that he's going to lose his job, and not much is being done in the ministries today as we speak, because everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen. But action needs to be taken very, very fast so that Nigerians can feel a sense of relief.
The expectation for Mr. President is that if farmers are able to return to those areas, to those farmlands they left because of insecurity, it will boost production and eventually drive down the cost of living for many Nigerians. I think time would tell whether or not the speech was inspiring enough. One of the things you have said in one of your nuggets is the need for, if our negatives pull us down, our positives must also pull us up. And we're going to see if Mr. President has been able to achieve that. But recently, you called for an end to the last protests due to loss of lives. And you saw in Mr. President's speech how it took time to express his intent to engage young people. I'm wondering what you think about President Tinubu's proposed 30-day youth conference and how you think that will address the challenges facing young people in Nigeria.
I think that's a brilliant idea. Like I said, the president spent a better part of his speech addressing the youths. Obviously, this is in reaction to the recent protests and all the planned protests, okay? So the president understands that the youths are aggrieved, that the youths are vexed right now, and that he needs to do something. So, like I said, he's making grand and good plans in those directions. It always boils down to the implementation. So I like the fact that he acknowledges that he needs to do something about youths, who he said make up 60% of our population. I like the ideas. I like the things he's trying to do in those areas. Let's see about the implementation now. That's when we can then know if it's actually working. Like I mentioned, the president has already ongoing 110 billion National Youth Empowerment Fund. Is that money being disbursed? How many people have benefited from that scheme? So the president is doing all of these things, noble things that he needs to do. But it's about the people who is entrusted to do these things. Are they doing what he has asked them to do? So schemes are good, ideas are good. It now boils down to the implementation. I always say this, like you mentioned and alluded to my daily nuggets. I speak daily about Nigerians' servitude, Nigerians doing their bit. They must work with government. They must support government. Government is not in isolation or an island unto itself. The Nigerian people are a part of government. The people who work in government are Nigerians like you and I. There's nobody I know whose name in his passport is government. Government is made up of Nigerians like you and I. So the people, in being disconnected from government or from Nigeria, are causing harm to Nigeria. We all have a role to play in making Nigeria work for everyone. This government right now, the private sector is dealing with the huge Jackpot syndrome. Companies are being affected as people leave every day in droves to other crimes. These are our best and brightest, our middle class who are leaving. So who is going to operate in the private sector? Who is going to operate in government? So Nigerians are making a mistake in that regard. But let me tell you something. I travel very frequently. Each time I'm coming back to this country, I see other people moving to Nigeria. Who are they? I see Lebanese, Syrians, the Turkish, the Chinese. I see people moving to Nigeria, coming to set up businesses in Nigeria, the same Nigeria where Nigerians are living in droves. So these people are coming, and they are forming part of our middle class. They are the people who are benefiting from a lot of the programs and policies of the government. Whereas Nigerians who should benefit are leaving. Because some people cannot choose to stay one extra day to be patient to see some of these policies work. What is government doing about this? We need to have a conversation that is larger than the APC. It's a Nigerian conversation that involves all Nigerians. The president must first of all have a country before he can be president. And that's what I'm speaking about.
But for many Nigerians, when they hear National Youth Conference, what comes to mind is the 2014 confab. And what happened to that, even though Mr. President is promising to implement resolutions that would come from this one. But do you believe this initiative has the capacity to provide tangible solutions to issues like unemployment, economic empowerment, and education, or it's merely a symbolic gesture? Have you been able to identify what went wrong with the first one? Is there continuity in government to ensure that all of these resolutions are established and implemented?
I will say this very quickly. I respect the questions you are asking. The questions are questions that show that this is not just a conversation to be a conversation for sake of having a conversation. You are asking very, very genuine questions. Yes, I believe that this president is different from other presidents. I believe that he's going to implement whatever policies or whatever decisions that are reached. I see a president who is seriously implementing financial autonomy for local governments. I see a president who understands the politics of Nigeria. In his speech, he used the phrase political economy twice. The first time we're hearing this lexicon in our political speech, and a lot of people might not understand the intricacies of that phrase that he has used. But I'm hoping that a president who understands this, who understands the inner workings of everything and how they translate to our body policy as a whole, who understands that there are issues that militate against Nigeria beyond the A, B's, and C's, who will work quietly, be in the background to make sure that some of the things that we can't see, we can't read about, but are working against us, that he fights those things. I believe that the president will do some of those things. But again, best ideas, best of intentions, he still needs people, lieutenants, who will run this race. And that's where the disconnect is today. But you will say this of this government. One thing you can take to the bank about this government is that it seems to be a government that reacts positively to a lot of things they see and hear on social media about Nigerians, about complaints of Nigerians and all those things. I love the fact that in the last 2 months or so, this government has taken on the issue of the youths and their worries, and they are doing a lot to speak about this, to address this. Whereas a lot of our last president, you can protest all you want to protest. You are just you have just probably clowning about, But we see this government responding, whereas they don't really. They can be like from former president, but they are responding, indeed, which is good.
The reality is that opinions remain sharply divided as to the performance of this current government, even though Mr. President acknowledges the challenges Nigerians are faced with and is optimistic that his reforms are showing positive signs. People are still sharply divided as to, the direction this administration has taken. My question, however, is how do you think citizens can hold their leaders accountable for delivering on campaign promises? We've seen protests and how they turned sour. We've seen some other forms of civil disobedience that have impacted drastically on the economic reality of the Nigerian people. 64 years after independence, have we been able to come up with, acceptable format of how Nigerians can call government to, action without necessarily disrupting their governance? Well,
that's what social media means to this generation of Nigerians. But the challenge we have is that people don't use social media positively. It seems that a large part of our population are more interested in using social media for skits and jokes. I see sometimes when government is tweeting about something serious or something that affects the same youths who are complaining, that these people, because they sometimes don't understand or sometimes don't know what government is talking about, they don't see how they can benefit. Perhaps that's why the National Youth Fund is not being disbursed, because maybe a lot of Nigerians don't know about it. They rather complain on social media. I always say this, I was part of student union movements. When people want to protest, when people want to go on strike, they don't give you notice. Youths don't give notice. The day they are fed up, they will go out on the streets. So I always say this so-called protests that we're seeing, we're witnessing, when they're always giving you 30 days notice and what have you, these protests are just, they are what I call a sham or a scam, When the people are truly fed up, no one is going to tell them to go out and truly protest. So what we see are people who are bargaining in the background and doing a lot of stuff and all those things, But it's good that the presidency or the president seems to talk to them, and because people are truly going through hard times. People are struggling. Businesses are closing, and what have you. How do people protest? I would say one way of protesting is to start having more town halls to speak about these issues. But beyond speaking about the issues, we need to start focusing on solutions. You will see that every time on social media you see things going viral, it's our people complaining about what government has not done. But you rarely see people speaking about solutions, about what government needs to do, solutions that work. I spoke last time about the need to, about organizing town halls where we need to speak about solutions, solution-centric town halls. Government belongs to all Nigerians. If the country fails, we all fail. The reign of a bad economy is pouring on all Nigerians. So Nigerians should be speaking about solutions and not problems. We engage too much in problems, because when we speak about problems and people say something, they are angry, it goes viral. We need to start making solutions go viral so we can have solutions to our dilapidated infrastructure. We can have solutions to our failing economy. We can have solutions to creating employment for our youth. We can have solutions to making sectors that used to be vibrant, like the textile sector, making them vibrant once again. We can have solutions to crude oil theft. We can have solutions to the mineral issues, our education sector that just seems to be going downhill every day.
I agree.
When we start speaking solutions
I
to
agree
all of
that
these things, the government will listen.
I agree that we cannot exhaust all of these issues in a single conversation. Nigerians are pregnant with hope. We are hopeful that the renewed hope will be delivered in the lifetime of this administration, and that this government will be able to match words with action. ADC presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Dumebi Kachikwu, thank you so much for talking to us on the program this evening.
Thanks for having me.
After the break, we'll dive into the economy and measures to cushion the hardship. Stay with us, everyone.